The religionist will argue to the very end that prayer does indeed work, but yet still offer no evidence to prove that prayer does indeed work. Everything that the religionist boldly argues to be the work of a prayer, anyone else with common sense can come along later and see it to be totally the result of some natural process or inherent inevitability. Religious arguments for the belief in prayer suffer from two major things. First one being that the belief in prayer working automatically contradicts the nature of a divine plan. Unless, of course, it was somehow already pre-planned out for you that you would pray at that point in time. But this type of scenario brings forth a whole bushel of other logical problems, unless you happen to pray for something that was already part of God's plan. In the latter case, your prayer was still worthless. Praying for the inevitable to occur is a pointless waste of a request for divine intervention. The second pitfall of the belief in prayer is that the religionist fails to acknowledge that the act of prayer is simply a bold, self-fulfilling prophecy that enables one to get through the hard times in their life. They simply fool themselves into thinking or knowing that they are doing something that might help. The religionist puts the situation in God's hands because they momentarily realize that they are powerless in a cold and different world. This momentary realization that they are powerless in a cold world illustrates that prayer is a tool of last resort. Even the fanatical religionist knows better than to use prayer as the first course of action. One of the most important attributes about any claim of the supernatural is that those who believe in the supernatural only count the positive hits. Meaning that if you ask a religious person who believes in a God or the concept of prayer if it works, each and every religious individual will always perceive it to work 100% of the time, simply because they instantaneously forget all of the times when their mind couldn't form a correlation to make them think that the prayer worked. Or in the alternative, they will simply rationalize the situation to always be in a God's favor, either by simply believing God knows best for me, or something to that effect. This is an illogical, double-sided, all-encompassing rationalization that's indicative of religious thought in irrational stances.